How can I prevent my cake from being raw in the middle but cooked on the outside?
Hello and welcome to our baking guide. In today's topic, we're addressing a common baking problem: how to prevent your cake from being raw in the middle but cooked on the outside. With a few simple adjustments, you can have a perfectly baked cake every single time.
Understanding why your cake is raw in the middle.
The root cause of this issue can be traced back to two main factors: oven temperature and baking time. If your oven is too hot, the outer layers of the cake will bake and form a crust more quickly, while the middle remains raw. On the other hand, if you're not baking your cake long enough, the middle won't have time to fully bake.
Perfect oven temperature.
To ensure that your cake cooks evenly, it's important to set your oven to the right temperature. Preheat your oven before you put the cake in, and try to avoid opening the oven door too often during baking as it causes temperature fluctuations. When it comes to temperature settings, if you consistently have issues with cakes being raw in the middle, consider reducing your oven temperature slightly, about 10 to 20 degrees less than the recipe suggests. This will slow the baking process, allowing the cake to cook evenly from the outside in.
Optimum baking time.
Just as crucial as oven temperature is determining the correct baking time. Underbaking is often a cause of a raw middle. Be sure to follow the recommended baking time in the recipe. A good practice is to start checking your cake around 10 minutes before the minimum baking time suggested in the recipe. You can do this by inserting a toothpick or a cake tester into the middle of the cake. If it comes out clean or with a few crumbs, your cake is done.
The right pan.
Lastly, the size and material of your baking pan can significantly influence how your cake bakes. Dark or non-stick pans can cause the cake to bake faster and form a crust before the inside is done. Consider using a lighter, preferably aluminum, pan for more even baking. Moreover, using a pan that is too small can cause the batter to be too deep, and the middle might not bake properly. Ensure that your pan size matches what the recipe calls for. Thank you for joining us today in our journey towards baking the perfect cake. By managing your oven temperature, monitoring your baking time, and choosing the right pan, you can prevent that dreaded raw middle. Remember, baking is an art, so don't be disheartened by a few failed attempts. Practice makes perfect, and soon you'll be baking beautiful and perfectly cooked cakes every time. Happy baking!